Right, now we're still on editor message. We are way behind. We have got a lot to do still for the PAT. So what we have here, we have chosen a message to edit and what we're going to edit on the message in the BTN edit box. Okay, we got our primary key field, our ID, which we need. That message ID, we need that field stored in an integer, because when we want to go and edit, we're going to use that. When we go through the loop, we're going to say if the message ID is equal to our ID, then we can go to edit and post. We already got we get our original from an edit box. So basically, we make sure that in the on-change event of the combo box for choosing an item, that these particular things are visible. Okay, we went through that last time. That's going to be something you have to deal with. In the case structure, we had to go and call a function called encrypt, which received our new message and then returned an encrypted code. Sorry, no, it didn't receive our new message. I tell lies. Yes, it did. It received our message and a code, and it returned a string, which we then store into a string called encrypt. And that is the one that we're going to use for our encrypted field when we go edit and post. The number of letters is easy. We just go to the length of SNU. Get the length and post that into the number of letters. So there we got that one. Now what about the other options, and what else are we going to do? For the other options, for option number 1, it's the date to string calendar. And when we finished, we make the calendar back to false. In option number 2, we were busy with that one, and that was the delivered story. Yeah, we were worrying about the delivered option. Basically, what we want to do is do the opposite of what it was. So if it says was delivered, we want to change it to not delivered. So we are basically going to get a Boolean a Boolean variable right at the top of this button click event. I'm going to call it bdel. They already did get that, bdel. And bdel is going to be whatever the delivered property of the table is, of that field. So basically we're going through the table one line at a time, using a while loop, get a b found equals false, set it to true if we find a match. If we find a match, yes, we set b found to true, so the loop will stop. But we're also going to read off what is the delivered value, is it true or false, so we're going to get it there. And then we're going to say bdel equals not bdel. That's to give us the opposite of what bdel was already. And there we go. Or we say something like that. Now we've never played with Boolean variables like this, have we? This is the first time we're playing around with these Boolean variables in more detail. So using the not operator there, we'll basically get the opposite of whatever bdel is. And then we can go and then put bdel into our delivered field. So that is where we left off last time. And this is the edit of the table done. Okay, we're finished with the editing. We probably don't even have to do editing of the other table, but right, I have a problem. iCode is int to string. What? SNU code. Where's my SNU code? SED new code dot value. Silly me. Value. Spin edit's got value. I was just running my program to see if I had any errors. That's all. So I'm going to edit the recipient. Oh no, that's the wrong one. I want to edit a message, and then we choose a message. Well, we choose a message here, and I'm going to say I'm going to choose the original message. This is a new message. And then I'm going to use code 1, and I'm going to go to, you got to choose which encryption code. So you got to put a message here saying the encryption code, okay? So there it is. It did it nicely, and it changed the encrypted area. If I want to go and I should add, you see what's happening here, guys? The new message hasn't been updated in the combo box. So guess what? We have to update the combo box as well each time we change something. The combo box needs to be updated regularly. So here we go. At the end of getting our message edited, guess what I'm going to do here? Before I'm going to the end of this data module, I'm going to do the following. But because I'm super lazy, I'm going to copy and paste. Duh. Right, when we go to edit message, we use the on show event, hey? Yeah, we use the on show event to fill the combo box up of our tab sheet. So I'm going to that on show event now, and I'm just going to copy and paste all this stuff, people. Everything. There we go. Control C. And this is how you save time. The reason is because I want to fill that combo box up. Make sure you're copying it from the same tab sheet. So there it is. So it even set the grid column widths, and now we're going to go and do the clearing this combo box, message to edit, and then we put in the original message in. We say so that's always important to do. So after you've basically finished editing, that you go and you refresh the combo box if you're going to do that. And now you'll see it has been refreshed to the new message. If I want to change the delivered property, and I'd say that, can you see that never refreshed, did it? Because I wanted to, still not refreshing. Okay, let's try that. I want to swap why is my delivered not going true? Shh. Okay, something's not okay there. What if I want to change the date? Let's make sure the date, please don't do that. So I'm changing the date sent, and it did not get refreshed. So what we're going to do is, date sent. We have to go and choose that again. Let's do this btn edit. Nope. And if we go and look at the database, why isn't it not changing? So I'm going to open the database quickly. Ach nee, wat? Oh yeah. Term 3. Luckily we can go and look at our database. During exams you're not able to open your database. So, did it change the date? No, the date wasn't changed at all. Did I not write code for that? Maybe I didn't. So my encrypted section is not working either. So let's go and figure that one out, shall we? Okay, btn edit. As you can see, writing a program takes a lot of time. So we get our ID. When we choose that, our code is our new.value, encrypt. I didn't use an R code there. It has to be set to either, what code did we say? 1 or 2 or 0 or 1? Can't remember. We have to go and set our spin edit so that it actually gives us values only 1 and 0. And if it doesn't, then we're going to have a problem, because then our procedure won't work. So I will have a max value of, is it 1 or 2? I think it was, min value 1. Max value, min value, increment. Okay, let's run the program and see if that makes any sense. EDT message, and then there we go. Can you see it's only got a 1 or a 2? You can only choose 1 or 2 now. That will solve that problem of that procedure working. So that was quite an important thing to do, because that procedure to encrypt that I code, if I go to find that procedure, and that's going to be a bit of a game finding the procedure. I code, there it is. I num can only be 1 or 2. You see, if it's 2, then nothing happens because you guys are going to put your own cipher there. So I've got one cipher and you're going to have a different cipher, another cipher there. And that's calling that function encrypt. I strongly recommend you use a function. It's much easier. And you get extra marks if you make it work properly. Now, this BTN edit wasn't working for the date. Why wasn't it working for the date? So if the date, if we found the date, there's the date sent. I used a data string curl change.date. Yeah. Why did it not do that? And then after this whole thing, can you see I did refresh the tables over here? And then the del does not work either. I wonder if I must use a variable called sDate to make it easier. Maybe I do need to. Might not like date to string cal. I'll change date. Okay. Alright, so we're going to go and have a string there. I think that might be. I'm hoping that's not the issue. Shouldn't be. But right. So we say this is equal to sDate. Then we're going to say the date sent will be that string called sDate. If you want to know what it looks like, you can do this. Show message sDate. If we look at our date field inside the table, you've seen that I had changed that field to short date, an input mask of short date, so everything will match perfectly. So if we can go and look at it, so let's go to edit, and let's say we're going to choose this one. Right, let's go and choose the original message. This is a new one, and I'll choose one there. If I go BT and edit, then you can see the encryption does change. Now, what if I want to go and change the actual date sent? Alright, so now we're going to go and click on there and click on BT and edit. Okay, it says the 9th of the 9th, 2021. Didn't change. Do you see that? And even if I have to go and look at my database, you'll see that my date sent didn't change. And we have to figure out why. Okay. Well, that's very scary indeed. While not TBL. I can see it immediately, guys. I forgot to say TBL message dot first. That's why you actually get marks for this. You've got to go to the first row before you can do anything, because guess what? It was probably in the last row. So if you're going to use a while loop to go through every single row of the table, you're going to have to make sure you get to the first row first. Then we can go through. So, and that's why the other one didn't work either. So let's go and do it then. Let's go and fix it. I forgot to do dot first. A simple little thing, you know. Okay, date set. Let's go and see if I'm right. BT and edit. Yes, they changed now. See, it changed. And I was going to do the other one. I'm going to change the delivered property, and I'm going to click on it. Now that delivered is true there. It's got to change to false. There it is. Just from one line, not going to the first row of the table before we get through the while loop. So, yay! I like it when something works. Right, now we're going to move on to deleting. Deleting a message. Okay, as starters, we have to get our combo box going. Because deleting a message is going to be tricky, we need a combo box. Here's my combo box, and I'm going to call it CMB delete message or something like that. CMB del message. This combo box must be filled in the on-show event, and I'm going to copy and paste code from the on-show event of TBS edit message. Copy and paste is your friend. So there it is. I'm going to copy and paste this code. All I have to do is change all of it with dmdo, everything between begin and end. Luckily we wrote it already, hey? Now we're going to go to the delete message on show event. I'm going to paste it in there, and I'm just going to change the database grid properties and on show. And then all I have to do is change the database grid properties. Over here, db grid, what? We're still on table number, it's db grid 3, we're still on the table, message table. And this combo box must be called something else, so I'm just going to highlight it and give it a different name, CMB del message. You see how the trick that I used that auto, the sync edit mode button. So, CMB del message, there it is. So this is the PAT. This is not for the test, this is for the PAT, okay? So, we got our original message, we're going to choose a message to delete. And we've set it all up here using our copy and paste feature. Super awesome. If we want to delete a message, we've got a bit of a problem. We've got to run through some hoops, so to speak. It's not going to be simple deleting. But let's get our button there so we can get going. Name property. del message. Delete this message. I made a big long name there. Doesn't matter, we're not going to refer to the button. At least you know that is the code that you're looking at when you go to your program and you want to edit something. You can find it easier. Instead of button 1 dot click or button 2 or button 3, at least the names, you change the names of your components so it's easy to find them when you have to do stuff like fix code. So, we've got our database grid on our tab sheet. We've got our combo box. And we got our button. btn delete this message. There's just one problem. We can't just somehow delete that message. Let's look at our relationship diagram, shall we? Da-da-da. If we look at this diagram very carefully, excuse me, if we delete this message, there's going to be a serious problem. If we delete this message, there will be a serious problem. The database will complain. And I bet you don't know why. Because there's a relationship here. Thank you. There is a one-to-many. There's a message ID over here. This field over here is going to prevent us from deleting a message. because we have a related field called message ID in the recipient table. So guess what we have to do? We have to first delete all of the message ID occurrences in the recipient table first, and then we can delete the message from the message table. So we've got to get the message ID, go to the recipient table, delete all of those messages there first, and there's going to be many, because there's one message goes to many people. So guess what? Yeah, those people will be deleted. But that's fine. You can just add them again if you're going to send another message. We could have a field in our table if you want. If you want to keep your recipients and you don't want to lose them, you could have a field in the message table. You can call it an original message, an empty string, no encrypted, nothing date sent, delivered, no letters, but you can give it a message ID of, you can just say, okay, this is a field that we're going to put in. And if I press enter, I should be able to. Yeah, but okay, I'll just go and click like that. But you see, it's not going to work unless you go and put something in one of these fields. No message. Let's call it a no message one. Okay, no message. No message yet. So if we want to replace the message ID with this number here, number 3, in other words, keep our recipients instead of deleting them, you know what I mean? Maybe we don't want to delete them. We could. That's an option. You decide what you want to do with your program. But maybe just put in message ID number 3 here, which means no message yet. You know what I mean? And that means our recipients can be kept if we want to go and send a message to any of them in the future. But other than that, we can also just delete them wherever the message ID is a number 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever. I've only got 1 and 2 there so far. By the way, you've got to have at least 10 rows in every table for your PAT. So let's go and get our ID. So we've got our combo box. Ooh, the combo box has been filled with all the messages. So we go to delete the message. So there it is. We choose one. We click delete this button for delete this message. What we're going to do is get the message ID for that message. I know we can read it off there, but no, we're going to do it in code because it's a more professional way. So we're going to basically click delete this message, get the RID. I'm going to call it RID, why not integer, and we're going to call it S message string. So I'll say S message equals CMB from the combo box CMB del message dot text. That's good enough. You don't need to use the item index dot items, whatever. You don't have to do it, but if you wanted to do this, is what it will look like. CMB del message dot item square brackets cm del message dot item index. So instead of using dot text, this is what you can do. I'll put it over there, item index. This is what you would do if you didn't use the dot text. It's quite a lot longer, isn't it? But we mark it correct if you use the dot text property. But always remember it, because you might need to use this for some other scenario or whatever. Right, so we're going to go and get to the first row of our table. And guys, I'm copying and pasting this seriously. Why on earth not? Copying and pasting to go through that table. One row at a time. Be found. We've got our Boolean flag. And you wonder why there's so many lines of code? Because we do lots of copying and pasting. Right, so there we get our ID. So we're good. Now we've got our ID. That's what we wanted. And now we've got the ID. Now we're going to go and delete or change whatever that ID is in the recipient table. So guess what? We're going to play with TBL recipient. Now, we don't know if that recipient table is connected or not, so we have to find out what is the ADO table component for that particular table called recipient. Now, it's called recipient in my database, but the ADO table component itself is called TBL recipient. Don't make that mistake. And there's a difference between the actual name of the table in your database and the ADO component that is used to connect to that actual table, right? They basically should be different, but I have seen it in exams where they are the same. Anyway, so in this thing, we've got to go and make sure that TBL recipient is connected. So I'm going to do a true false story here because I can. All right, after we've got our ID, I'm saying TBL recipient dot active equals false. I'm just making sure it's connected. This is my foolproof method. Other people use other methods, and I'm telling you, this one never fails. So don't use any other one. There's nothing worse than struggling with ADO table components that are not working. Now, what are we going to do here? We're going to go through this table one line at a time. So we need to do the first story and a while not TBL recipient dot end of file do. So now we can decide whether we're going to delete or edit. If we edit it, it'll be fine. We can just change the message ID to the number 3, like I said, no message, and then that'll be good, no problem. Or we can delete it. And we do it over here. Now there could be many of them. So we're not going to use a B found. We're going to go from the first row of the table all the way down to the last row of the table. So, full name, email, cell. We got one message as many recipients. So there's going to be many message IDs in this recipient table. There's going to be many primary keys that we want to delete here or edit. We're either going to delete the row or we're going to say message ID equals 3, wherever message ID equals whatever that ID is. So we get to the first row of the recipient table and we say if, and we don't need a B found Boolean flag because we want to go right to the end. Okay, see, that's the difference. In the others, we only went up to that particular field record, and then we basically stopped the loop with our B found Boolean flag. But now we want to go right from the first all the way down to the last, and we're going to check each one. So if TBL recipient colon message ID square brackets, if it's equal to our ID, then the magic begins. Begin and end. We must decide. I'll do both. Okay, I'll do the TBL edit, the edit one. TBL message dot edit. This is if we're going to change it to message ID of 3, and we just write the number 3 there because I know that's the one where there's no message. We're going to use that as our blank message. If we want to keep our recipients, that's when you're going to do a dot. That's what if you're going to do an edit, if you found a match. And don't forget TBL. You see what's wrong there? I can't mix TBL recipient with TBL message. We're only dealing with one table here. TBL recipient. It's not the message table. How can I make such a silly mistake? It's message ID in the recipient table, and yeah, we've got to say TBL recipient dot next. If you don't do it dot next, we are in big trouble. Right, now, what if I wanted to delete it? If I wanted to delete it, I'll put this in inverted commas. I mean squiggly brackets, curly brackets. If we want to delete it, then we're going to do the following: TBL recipient dot delete else. Now I know that I've explained this else dot next. That is how you're going to delete many things in one table. If you know there's going to be more than one deletions happening, you say TBL delete else dot next. TBL whatever dot delete else TBL whatever dot next. That is if you know you're going to delete more than one thing. If there's only going to be one thing, you don't have to have that else there. But you might as well put it there. If you're going to stop the processor going through every row of the table, then you don't need that else there. If you're going to use a Boolean flag to set to true when you delete. But this is what you use if you're going to delete many things. You say delete else dot next, and the reason is simple, because when you delete a row like this, if I delete it, it automatically goes to the next row. So deletion actually includes a dot next as well. So you can't delete and then go to the next row. You either delete or you go to the next row, because delete will automatically move the pointer to the next row after that row has been deleted. Okay, now that is our delete done for recipient table, and we can safely go and connect to the other table again, and this time we'll do a bfound equals false, and I'm going to copy and paste, get to the first row, use our Boolean flag. If the message ID equals our ID, then we will say TBL message dot, see it's slightly different, delete. That's it. And of course I can move all of this because you can't really see this properly. So isn't that cool? So you've done everything now. You've done insert, edit, delete. We've even done a two table situation because we're editing something or we're deleting something, so we've got to worry about the other table as well. And that's not even grade 11 syllabus. So you learnt a lot there. So if you can put this successfully into your PAT, then you have a bit of a more advanced, slightly more advanced program. Okay, now what about sorting and looking at all these things? The main operations have been done, but look at adding a recipient, editing a recipient, and delete a recipient. Why haven't I touched on that? If we look at our many side, okay, let's look at the many side, people. If you look at the many side of your table relationship, and you're supposed to have a one-to-many relationship, if you wanted to add a recipient, we have to choose a message ID. Do you see that? If we wanted to change a recipient, then we'd have to do something with a message ID, maybe. If we wanted to delete a recipient, if you want to delete a recipient, basic. You can delete as many recipients as you want. You don't have to delete a message first. So we did the more complex one of deleting. But if you want to add a recipient, we just have to choose a message ID for them to use. And then that's what we will do. But we must do reports tomorrow. And that will be that.